channel. I'm going to talk about something a little bit this morning about where beams meet. People often talk about it's blurry, it's blurry, it's blurry, right where the beams meet. How do you sharpen that up? Unfortunately, it isn't always possible to sharpen the image up where the beams meet. And I'm going to kind of tell you why. So let's get into it right now. Take a look. As you can see, my voice is a little bit sore this morning. These allergy stuff is killing me, but let's go. All right, so we're back with our famous drawing here that everybody seems so much, there was a lot of comments on it. Nothing bad, actually, but there was a lot of comments on it. And we have our 5 beams here. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull away this beam and this beam. And we're going to talk about a particular beam. Now, when a particular beam is 27 degrees wide, I know this is not to scale, but a beam is 27 degrees wide. And imagine this as a flashlight beam. Now, in the middle of that flashlight beam, very sharp, you can see things real well. But on the outside edges of that flashlight beam, or in this case, the Livescope beam, you'll notice the light fades away. It's not as bright and it's not as sharp. Well, the same thing happens when you look at a Livescope beam. On the edges, the returns are not as sharp. They're going to be less, but just because the intensity of the beam is always going to be toward the center. Now, it may not be to this much or this scale. It's usually right on the edge of the beam. But when you understand that the returns are real small here, and then you add in this beam also, whose edges are also, not as sharp on the edge of the beam is not, the returns are not as sharp. Also, that's why you get blurring right where the beams meet. It's nothing that, it's not something that is wrong with the Livescope in particular, but what it can do, especially on items like brush that have a lot of branches and things like that, it can make it look like there's something wrong with your Livescope, when in effect it's just because the returns are real soft in those areas. And also in brush piles, there's a lot of things deflecting the beam, so those edges can get a little bit rough. That's why you'll see it sharp, and then as a fish swims through, it kind of gets blurry, and then it gets sharp again. Nothing wrong with your Livescope beam, just the fact that the edges of the beams have soft returns, and therefore they're not as sharp and not as clear. All right, guys, I hope that helped you out and kind of help you understand why the beams get, or the picture gets a little bit blurry on the edge of the beams. And I use that knowledge to understand it, and then I will use it to center the images to get a better image. If you know those edges can get a little blurry at times, then what I'll try to do is make sure I center my object or my bait in the middle of a beam to get a better picture and a more clear return. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Ring the bell. Hey, we're getting closer to 20,000, and that's that guide trip to Lake Fork. I'll announce that contest that when we kind of break the 19,000 barrier is when we'll go right into that and try to get us a winner. We're going to go over and have a guided trip with my friend Cody Mays on Lake Fork. But guys, thanks again for watching, for subscribing. Ring the bell.